Hello everyone, very good morning. I welcome you all to this live webinar today, which would be focusing on the strategic and the proactive initiatives by the one of the most progressive states of this country, Telangana in general, and in specific about the Narayanpet district of Telangana. So in these times of prevailing corona crisis across the globe, we at ILETS have embarked on a rigorous campaign to promote the best practices, innovations, success models uh, to deal with the challenges and tackle the crisis that the corona pandemic has thrown at the humankind. And to do this, we are organizing a series of webinars and online live interactions with the policymakers, with the experts, and those from India and also from across the globe. And today, my name is Sudhir Gautam. I'm the Senior Assistant Editor and Bureau Head with ILETS Technomedia. And I'm glad to introduce one of the young and the dedicated IS officers of this country, who is currently serving as the collector and district magistrate with the Narayanpet district in Telangana state. She is a environmentalist by heart, and she has played a very significant role in driving the Hyderabad city and emerge this city, make this city as a leader in the recycling initiatives. I and my team had the opportunity to work with her in several eco-friendly and initiatives, and also waste management initiatives and projects. Uh, she introduced and implemented several plastic recycling initiatives while she was the additional and zonal commissioner with the Greater Hyderabad Municipal Corporation. Besides that, a lot of innovative works have been taken up by her, driving uh, Hyderabad to emerge as one of the cleanest and the most active and tech-aligned city. Now, she is a 2010 uh, batch IS officer, and prior to joining uh, the Indian Administrative Services, she also worked with global firms like Shell and World Bank. So join me in welcoming Ms. Harichandana Dasari, the Collector and District Magistrate with the Narayanpet District. Welcome, Ms. Harichandana.
Thank you, Sudhir. Happy to be here.
Thank you. You're welcome. And to moderate this session, we have yet another prominent person who has, with his sheer passion and drive to promote the technology and innovations in various sectors, has launched ILETS Technomedia 17 years back. Since then, it has been a constant drive, and a lot of work has been introduced by ILETS Technomedia. Dr. Ravi Gupta, who is the founder, CEO, and editor-in-chief with ILETS Technomedia. ILETS Technomedia is a B2B media organization that closely works at the city level, at the state level, and also at the central level. Uh, it brings out multiple publications, including eGov, focusing on governance, technology, smart cities, eHealth, which focuses on innovations and best practices in healthcare system, and also Digital Learning Magazine, which focuses on education, and also BFSI Post, which focuses on banking, finance, and insurance. So ILETS Technomedia has also been working across the globe, including organizing several knowledge conferences, including United Kingdom in Cambridge Town, and also Denver in United States, and also in the Middle East, including working with the Bahrain and Dubai government, and also various other Asian countries. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Ravi Gupta, founder, CEO, and editor-in-chief with the Let's Techno Private Limited. Welcome, Dr. Ravi Gupta.
Thank you so much.
So I would request you to please take on this live interactive webinar.
Thank you, Sudhir. Let me welcome Hari Chandana ji again. Welcome.
Thank you, Raviji.
Let me start with asking you a bit about your school education, higher education, your work before you joined the administrative officer, and what prompted you to look at Government of India as a service, and what were the aspirations of yours, and what has been your IAS journey till now. This will like set up the context of this interaction.
Yeah, actually, school education has been, let me start with that. I've changed about 14 schools in my entire journey. So it's been a very eclectic learning for me during the school years. My father was in the administrative service, so we moved around the country for various reasons. And that's how I ended up with all these schools. Post that, I completed my graduation from the London School of Economics. So at that time, there was not much of an interest to join the civil services. I was looking at the private sector and jobs there, and because of my education profile, I did get good jobs, I should say. So as I was working, I realized that I was super specializing in one direction. I was working in environmental economics at that time, and then I realized that I need a broader perspective in life, and that's when having known how the IAS works and how it is, what it can do, and the diverse profile that this job offers. I thought this was the best option for me to look into, and also I'm a person who likes doing things, likes to make an impact. So that I don't think in the current scenario any other service offers other than the IAS today. So that is what made me take the exam and join the IAS. After that, yeah, I've been lucky to be posted back to my home state of Telangana, and from there on, since I know the place, I know the people, I know how things, what are the requirements here, I could focus on what is needed and what can be done to improve things in this state.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Great. And you have till now worked in how many locations, how many cities till date, and what have been the somewhat of a journey till date?
I've been having a stable journey, I should say. I was there briefly in Vijayawada for my sub-collectorship, but that was at the time of the United States. Then I moved on to Hyderabad. I was there with the municipal for 5.5 years, so that's been a very long stint. And last 3 months, I'm posted in Narayanpet.
So right now you are posted in Narayanpet district, and you are serving as collector and district magistrate in this district. And this is considered one of the aspirational districts of the country. And tell us right now in this COVID-19 situation, that how is the district placed, what has been the preparedness, what has been the action taken pre-lockdown, post-lockdown. So a bit of like details around those things.
Actually, Narayanpet is the newest district of Telangana. It has just been formed. It's a baby district, I should say. It was formed a year ago, and it's taking its first steps towards development and moving towards all other aspects of governance. But the interesting part is that since the district administration's been created, there's been a lot more synergy in this district and a lot more movement. To give you a brief profile of the district, it is one of those old historical hotspots of Telangana. It is called the Abode of God, Narayanpet in Telugu. So this place is right next to the Krishna River. So it is the entry point of the Krishna River into the Telangana state. So there is a lot of holy significance to this place. Apart from this, the district is known for its mineral wealth. There's a lot of history saying that a lot of gems were found on the Krishna River along this place. So it's very unique in the sense you have a lot of greenery in a district, and it's also a rice bowl in a way. Then also another famous aspect of this district is the textiles. It's a old traditional handloom town. So there are a lot of weaver families which are unique to this district, and that's a developmental challenge for us also, how to integrate the traditional handicrafts and rural weavers into the development profile.
So, how many cases have you actually had in your district, and how you have controlled migrations and lockdown issues?
So till yesterday we were COVID free. Yesterday also we have one baby from the district who has been tested positive in Hyderabad. The baby was out of this district for the last 1 week. They were they have taken the baby out for medical care, and so we are yet to ascertain whether the infection was caught here or elsewhere. Because so far there's no contact travel history for the parents. They were here only, and the family has not interacted with other people. So since it's a baby, we are also on high alert, and we have followed all lockdown protocols and containment protocols of that area where the baby was residing. So I would say till yesterday, 0 cases, maybe one today. So to follow the, I mean, how we have kept it COVID free so far, our district has a lot of migrants. People have migrated from this district to Pune, Bombay, and other places, and we're very close to the Maharashtra border. So when the initial lockdown, before the lockdown happened, and Maharashtra was becoming a hotspot in the country, we decided to close down a lot of our borders and open checkpoints at all these places, even before the lockdown. So we've kept about 8 checkpoints across our border areas, and also started manning the border villages so that people don't move in and out. And we've also requested our neighbor districts to arrange migrant camps, and also requested the Maharashtra government early on to see that people don't migrate out, and they are provided ample facilities in the district itself. So we were constantly interacting with them to see that the workers are not encouraged to come back to the district, because it's not about people coming back and we not being able to take care of them, but it is about restricting people's movement in general so that the virus does not spread. So that's one caution we have taken. Also, we have onboarded all our local representatives. We were speaking to them right from the word go. We have spoken to the sarpanches, the upa sarpanches, and all the ward members in a village, and we explained to them diagrammatically also, and showed them how the virus spreads, how what are the due precautions to be taken in a village, and how sanitization should be done. So today the sarpanches themselves are sanitizing their village using the power sprayers and tractors and different ways of doing it. Boom sprayers, which they were using for agriculture purpose. So they have repurposed all of them to take on sanitation in the villages. Apart from that, anybody coming and going to the village, this served the purpose that we could track them. So immediately, if somebody is entering a village, we would know, because the village people themselves would call us. We've opened a centralized control room in the district headquarters, and an 8-line dedicated control room. So anytime, 24/7, we were receiving calls of movement of people who have come from other places. So once they have come, our medical teams could visit them, and they were able to stamp them and track them. And if they are from any hotspots in the country, we have immediately home quarantine. So today we have a high number of people on home quarantine, because the locals themselves say, you please put them on home quarantine. They have come from outside. So we have about 1,600 people on home quarantine today.
Amazing. So 1,600 people in home quarantine. How did you find them, and how is that quarantine situation getting tracked, that they actually follow the quarantine principles and guidelines?
Right. So actually, that's another way of doing it. What we have done, like I said before, is all our sarpanchas and all the village people themselves have started pointing out if somebody is coming from outside. In the urban areas, we have put community watches. Like, we've taken a ward, the ward member and the ward, we have somebody called the ward representatives, about 10-15 people of them. So we've used them and said, you be the ward watches, and you tell us if somebody is coming from outside into your ward. So they have all kept us informed, and our medical teams, who are quite dispersed at the village level and also at the ward levels, they could immediately go and track the vitals of a person who has come. And they were also stamped, home quarantine stamp was given. If we've given our medical staff a list of all the hotspots in the country. This is live updated to all our medical staff. So they know that if they're coming from this point, they need to be immediately home quarantined. Or even if a person is not able to reveal their travel history properly, then we treat them as a matter of abundant caution. We treat them as a person with suspicious travel history, and we home quarantine them. But we ensure that all these home quarantine people are stamped first at our medical camps and then sent to their homes to be to stay there. So for that, what we do is, once they're there at their homes, we geotag their home. So we have a geotagging app which is developed by NRSE for us, and this has been piloted in our district. So using that app, we have started geotagging the homes of people on home quarantine. So this serves two purposes for us. One is if there is any movement of this person, or if we need to plan a containment zone. It makes it very easy for us to contain the 1 kilometer radius of this person who's on home quarantine, and in case we have to come to that protocol. But the second part is, this NRSE app also has a feature on the person who's home quarantined. There is an app feature on their phone. So just by pressing an SOS button kind of thing, they can tell us if there is any change in their health stats. So if they feel breathlessness, if they feel fever, if they have cough, cold, they just have to press this button, and it's like a SOS for us. Our health team reaches them immediately, and they track them, and if required, they take a sample and analyze whether there's a problem. The other part of this SOS app is they can also press it for any requirement of essentials. So we've tied up our SHG women, the self-help group women in the district, and we have given them 14 vehicles where they take vegetables, fruits, meat, eggs, or all these essentials, and they can deliver them to a person in home quarantine so that they don't move out of their homes. And we take all precautions. They are all equipped in protective gear, and then they also drop the fruits and vegetables in a basket, which is kept outside the home of the person on home quarantine. So with that, we ensure their needs are met, they are taken care of, and they practice the protocol of home quarantine by staying at home for 14 days.
Fantastic. And how are you looking at or using IT as a whole, information technology, in overall COVID-19 situation management?
As far as using IT goes, I think for an aspirational district, we are quite advanced in that. I already shared with you how we are using the NRSC platform and
Yes.
also the Bhuvan platform, that the mapping is done on Bhuvan. So how we are using it to kind of track our people on home quarantine. Apart from that, we have also to protect our staff, our health staff at our district hospital, from whenever they take a sample. Whenever they take a sample and try to test out if a person is positive or not, for that also we have opened COVID booths in the district headquarter hospital, and so the person has zero contact with the patient or with the suspect, and their safety is maintained. Apart from this, since we have a huge porous border, we have a lot of traffic movement in terms of essential goods and commodities which come in. So that we can't restrict. So what we do is we sanitize the area quite frequently, and for this we were among the first few districts to use drones to sanitize the goods vehicles which were coming in. So that was because there, the goods vehicles are quite high, and people can't reach them to sanitize them. So we were using drones to sanitize these vehicles and see that there is safe entry of goods into the district. Also, another interesting IT feature I would say we have developed is it's called T-Consult. It's a digital health platform that we have developed very specifically in this district. So what we realized after the lockdown was a lot of private medical practitioners were cut off from practice. So also people's travel movements were restricted. They couldn't go to a hospital very easily. And since hospitals are also mostly running on emergency service basis, let's say you have a headache, you have knee problem, you have some other digestive issue. So you cannot reach a doctor quite easily in this scenario. So what we did was we launched this digital health platform, which can be connected on your phone. So on one side, doctors donate their time, whichever doctor is free, and they will say that I'm available for consultation during these time slots. On the other side, we have the patients waiting for the doctor, and they would choose the doctor they want to speak to. For example, a gastroenterologist or a cardiologist or a ENT doctor or anybody else. We even have Ayush doctors on board like Homeo and Ayurvedic. So we have 97 doctors contributing to their time on this app, and we've had about 1011 consultations so far in this district with these doctors without the patient leaving their village or their home.
Is this
And
video consultation or video consultation?
It's video consultation.
Wow.
So yes, so it's not just phone, it's video. People can directly speak, like how I'm speaking to you now. People can speak to a doctor. And another advantage of this app, which mostly other people don't have, is it's as per HIPAA protocols. The doctors can choose the available medicines in our government pharmacies. So, and they can prescribe the medicine via this app. And our ANMs or health workers on the field will pick up these medicines and give them to the patient. So that is, we have piloted this in 39 villages. Now we are in another 3-4 days, we'll be expanding it to the entire district.
This is an amazing story. I don't think many districts have this at all.
Yeah, this is the first district to start this digital health platform, and later on, there were other districts who have opened on tele medicine platforms. But yes, the comprehensiveness of this app is quite good, and we were testing it out, so now we're ready to launch it across the district.
Which organization is helping you in implementing this platform?
There is a group called TITA. They are volunteer group, and they have done it freely for the district.
Fantastic. So hats off to them. Yeah.
Yes, they could come out with it within a week of us, telling the idea. And they said, okay, let's try it out and let's pilot it. And we were really amazed at the dedication of doctors also to onboard and help us with this initiative.
This is I think the government of India has revised the tele medicine guidelines in last 1 month, and that could have also helped you in doing it in a much better way. So,
So we initially planned it for our government doctors to reach the villages much more quickly because they were busy with the COVID work. But seeing the enthusiasm from a lot of private practitioners, we were very happy with the response of other doctors also who have gotten on board.
amazing, great story. And I understand that you are also doing some work with schools. So if you can highlight that also.
Yes, before the break, we were trying to not actually. It's not a new thing that we were doing, I would say. But most of our schools did not. They look drab and they don't have a lot of color to them, or they don't have proper seating facilities, proper toilets, and also we did an assessment of what is required in which school. So first, we refurbished the entire school, and we gave proper benches if there were broken benches or chairs or anything of that sort. We repaired them, and we gave a colorful appeal to the school so that children feel happy going to the school. And apart from that, we've started kitchen gardens in the school so that they do get their midday meals, but if more of nutrition is added to that midday meal, it helps. So we started that, and we refurbished the toilets of the school. Sometimes they don't have water, sometimes they have other things, so we did that, and also made a need assessment of providing some form of digital education through the children. Telangana has a TSAT application, which is a digital learning platform. It's quite good and it has a very good connectivity across the state. So all we did was provide projectors in each school so that people get access to these digital classrooms. So if they have any difficult subjects which they can't learn, they just log on to this or they place a request to this platform, and the government provides them all these lessons. So with this, we could really bring about this transformation, and in fact, the villagers came together to contribute to some part of. They themselves took on the painting of the schools and repairing the benches and all that. So that was a very good collaborative effort between a government NGO and the villagers themselves.
Very interesting. I think the you are looking at the health and education. Both are the core pillars of any governance system in any district. And what about the how are you seeing that the situation of labor and employment there? Although you are just 3 months old in this district, I understand that. So it's too early to make any interventions in any way that COVID-19 has happened. But how are you assessing the situation and the post-COVID situation? How are you looking at the skills and employment issues?
Actually, for skill issues, I would say we have a lot of women groups in the district, and we've come up with during the situation, we realized that a lot of weavers are out of their jobs. because there is no market for them to sell theirs. And this is a traditional sari making weaver community here. So they don't have markets right now and they are all stagnating. So we bought on their stock of saris, and we have given it to SHG women, the self-help
Wow.
group women. And we told them to make masks out of it. And from the district side, we've ordered about 2 lakh masks to be distributed to our general public. And then these women started getting extra orders. They said, will you sell your mask to us and all? So now we have about 4,000 women working on making masks. And they are selling them in places like Hyderabad, in various other parts of the state also, and even in some essential with essential commodities shops here. So they could work out a small business model which works out for both the weavers and for the SHG women in this scenario. So for that, we have helped them with skilling on how to sew the masks, providing the equipment, and also how to make it more enterprising for them. So now I hear these women are also interested in making handkerchiefs and other things which will help out during this scenario. So that is one. Apart from that, skilling wise, we did work on skilling. We were working with MSME before the outbreak to have enhanced skilling opportunities for our weavers and for the women groups out here. Also for labor, now there are a lot of labor force who are returning back to the district because they were working in other sectors now. So they are coming back. So to open up more opportunities for them, we are going through the NREGS system, where the village works are being opened up, and then some livelihood opportunities are being provided for these people.
Amazing. I assume that your district would be agrarian district, and a lot of rural um, issues, rural development issues would be there, and of course issues around water management, water conservation, for irrigation issues might also be there. So how is your assessment around any interventions post COVID in those areas?
I think we will see an influx of people back to their homes during this next 2-3 months. So that is what we've been noticing, because people have this sense of belonging to their native village. So in times of uncertainty, they do come back. So we are noticing that. I mean, despite so much of lockdown, we see people coming back to their villages in different forms. Some come on bikes, some have even come walking. So we realize that we need to provide more opportunities at this points where they come back. So once it happens, NREGS is a big source with the existing government framework, and apart from that, developing skills and also agrarian-based industries is the way forward in my opinion.
What is the exit strategy you are looking at from the lockdown situation?
It is the government's exit strategy, so we cannot divert from that as such and have our own exit strategies. But that is a very good sound exit strategy which the government has planned, where they are planning to open up the existing agrarian economy first, and then such kind of businesses, and then move on to other ones.
Yes. So I will request you to look at some of the questions which people have asked. If you like to look at your screen, there is a Q&A button.
Yeah, I am. I've got 11, yes.
Yes. So if you can pick the ones.
Yeah. Yeah, most of them are about how we are dealing with the corona outbreak, and also I would say I will take it on first, because that's how they're asking us how we've seen the first case in this baby yesterday, and how we're going to deal with it. So, first to answer that, the containment protocols given by the government are excellent, and Telangana government has also been very proactive in dealing with the outbreak. So we have very clear guidelines on how to manage once a positive case comes, how to manage a containment cluster and all that. So this village, which is the native village of this baby, who was reported positive, we have completely sterilized the village. We are ensuring that nobody moves in or moves out from this village, and seeing that all essential commodities are delivered in the village. And also we have taken a large number of samples, and seen that if any suspicious cases are tracked. So whoever is primary contacts of these people, we have ensured that they are in due medical facility which is our quarantine center, and we are ensuring they are there. So there's no need to panic in this district. The protocols are clear. The government has given very clear instructions, and they are taking very proactive steps to ensure this baby is also treated in Gandhi Hospital. So the next, anything which interests you, Raviji?
Well, I think there are some question about Tablighi Jamaat. So, is there any fear from?
Not really, because there were just two people from Narayanpet who have attended that conference, and they have returned 20 days back to the district. And we've done 4 tests on them, and they have consistently been negative. They're still in our government quarantine, so there is no chance of panic or no need to be worried about any incident from there.
This is a question called is Palle Pragati program of
Yes.
Telangana state help to prevent spreading?
That is very interesting. Yes, it is actually Palle Pragati is a very unique concept by our Honorable CM, and I don't see any parallel to that thing anywhere in the world, because focusing on and thinking ahead of rural sanitation. Mostly in rural areas, we think sanitation is just building toilets. But our Honorable CM thought ahead, and he said every village should have a scientific dump yard, which has a wet waste treatment. So waste is properly segregated home to home, and there's no mixed waste in the villages. And the dry waste is given to a dry resource center. The wet waste is treated in a compost yard, which each village has. Now each village of Narayanpet is having a dump yard which is scientifically designed, and they have special collection vehicles which are tractors in a village, which take the waste from house to house and see that it's not dumped anywhere in the village, and goes to the dump yard only. So this ensures very high levels of sanitation in a village, and because of that we see lesser outbreaks in all the villages of Telangana today. And there is regular, under this program, there is also a regular employee appointed to sanitize the village and ensure there are enough soak pits in the village so that there are no open drains also. So this is ensuring very, very high levels of sanitation in villages and transforming the way we look at preventive health care.
And how old is this program?
It's about a year old, and almost all the villages of Telangana now are covered with having a dedicated vehicle. They have twin bins at each household level, and they know how to segregate. So they know how to make uh, scientific disposal of waste is being happening. So that is working out quite well during this pandemic situation.
Is this like taking Swachh Bharat Abhiyan to the next level, it seems?
Yes, it's quite advanced Swachh Bharat, and
Yes,
we should really thank the Honorable CM
yes.
Telangana
I think
for thinking so much ahead.
yes, I think like all states can be inspired because the uh, many in like I have seen across India, the people have limited vision of the Swachh Bharat, and but unless like you are doing the other things around it as it's happening in your state, the mission is not completed actually. Say, so great, fantastic. This
Yeah.
question by Arpit, that how the health service, especially COVID-19 testing facilities, are being extended to the rural and remotest place of the Narayanpet. How is your past experience in GHMC helping you in doing this?
Yeah, about my past experience in GHMC, I was telling you about how we use the drones to
Yes.
sanitize. And that is an experience which I've bought from GHMC, where we were using drones to prevent mosquito growth, especially in areas which are inaccessible to human hands,
Mm.
like lakes and the Musi River. So we could use them in Naranpet to use them as disinfectant sprayers. And also, I would say the sanitation levels of rural areas are much, much better than urban areas, because they have an economy which takes on the wet waste, which goes back into farmyards as manure. So, because of that, we have lesser problems. And also, like I shared with you, how the Palle Pragati program thought much ahead and was ensuring proper sanitation facilities in the villages. So, for as far as testing of COVID things go, the government has opened up many testing labs across the state in Telangana. So we have an access to a lab in Mehboob Nagar shortly. So our sampling, like this baby was tested one day prior, and the report has come within a day. So the testing facilities are quite good, and the results are quite comprehensive, I should say.
There is a question by Mercy Samuel that hi, I am Dr. Mercy Samuel from SEPT University, Ahmedabad. My question is to you is from leadership perspective, how challenging is to balance the expectation from different stakeholders and also to mobilize people.
True. Actually, during this time, there will be, we also have to be careful about how our staff also take due precautions when they go out and they expose themselves. So, different stakeholders think differently, and sometimes people don't give due seriousness to the lockdown. So, at different times, we have to be tough, we have to be convincing, we also have to tell people that this is for your own good, that this is happening. So these are very tough situations, and all of us, unless we get the motivation from self, from people themselves, to take due precautions and to be alert and cautious, we will not succeed. So our challenge of leadership lies in being able to convince the people to take on the lockdown protocols and to ensure that they adhere to them.
There is a question by Anjali S that your region is known for handlooms. What is being done to ensure the viewers get their income flow intact?
True. Actually, like I was telling you, how our weavers were left without a market initially when the lockdown began. But we could tell them to sell their products to our SHG women who are making masks out of it. And both of them are sharing the revenue of making the mask. So the weavers are also not left out of a job. They are getting about 400, 500 rupees per day, and the SHG women are also benefiting. So the rural economy, to some extent, is being able to survive because of this. So you just have to see a new opportunity in things.
In fact, there is a massive demand for masks around the country, and
Yes.
with the COVID-19 situation getting extended, and perhaps it will be becoming norm for all of us to wear a mask when we go out. I think the your viewers have a huge opportunity that they can actually upscale their operations, and actually they may employ many more people to prepare masks.
So the government has also prescribed double layer handloom cotton masks as the best option to control this outbreak. So I hope a lot more people use this opportunity and they can protect themselves.
Yes, and there's a question by let me see if I have missed. Uh, Karthik has asked that your district happens to be along the border of the other states. This has to be a place of influx. What are the arrangements?
Like I said, initially before the lockdown was announced, a lot of people tried to come back. But after that, even the decisions by the central government to ensure all the migrant workers are taken care of in their own respective states. So we have a lot of people coming from Maharashtra and Karnataka back in this district, because those governments are also taking care as per the directives of the government to ensure that the migrant workers are provided with all facilities. We don't have this influx problem in a massive scale today.
So I think we have covered all the questions. I have a question
Yeah.
from my side.
Yeah.
You have worked in the urban areas in most of the times, I suppose, uh, in your GHMC and Hyderabad stints. Moving to a rural area, a bit of a remote area after coexisted, how does it feel? And uh, is it is it a punishment to be outside the city, or is it an opportunity? So how do you see this?
That is the beauty of IS, I would say, because I was doing an urban posting a while back, and now I'm able to serve in the rural areas. So it's an opportunity for me. Like I shared with you, digital health, education. These are all basic necessities, and here we are seeing a lot of farming activity also in this district. So it's an opportunity for me to learn new things as well as contribute to better and different sectors of the society. So I see it as an opportunity, and I really thank the government for giving me this opportunity to serve in so many different capacities.
Fantastic. Last question, Hari Chandra ji. Uh, your you have attended our conferences and written in our magazines. Your views about the work which ALETS is doing and how we can make it better.
Yeah, I've been associated with ELETS for about 4, 5 years now, and it's been a long working relation. And I can find that you cover a lot of good innovative perspectives. How and because you end up giving so many sharing platforms, because sometimes we live on our own shell. We don't know what's happening in other parts of the country or with in other sectors of the workspace. So, with this experience sharing between officers, between B2B, and between new innovators also, because most as officers we don't look at new things which can be brought into the government sector. So I think ELETS quite aptly bridges all these gaps. They increase our knowledge platforms, they provide us new ideas, and they also tell us what is happening elsewhere, so that any good practice which can be replicated and does some good in our own workspaces is a welcome move. So that is where I find my key takeaway from ELETS, and I've been growing, learning new things from them, and also seeing how different other officers and other people approach this different scenarios to take it forward. So we just need not be reinventing the wheel at our end. We can just take good practices which are done, and that is what ELETS does best. So I congratulate your team for putting all this together, and ensuring that all officers have this experience sharing platforms.
Thank you. Uh, there's one more question which appeared on the chat on your right. If you look at it, so I want to ask you because I think it's important. There is someone is like asking that Mr. Dhananjay Mehta is asking that the roads are in a bad shape in your district.
Yes.
Yes. So, what's your plan to address this?
Yeah, actually, the roads were going on. The work had begun in full swing by the R&B department. Then, because of this situation, the lockdown, many workers are not coming to work. So that is the reason the work has taken a slight backseat, but we will be completing all the work once post the lockdown scenario opens up.
Fantastic. Great. So I think we can end this conversation here. Thank you so much, Hari Chandra ji, for joining us.
Thank you, Ravi ji.
And I must congratulate you for the work you are doing. I think I was really inspired by the telemedicine work, your attention to the rural schools, your attention to the using technologies like drone in a remote district like yours. I think uh, people like you are also giving an opportunity for a lot of technology innovations for the rural areas, and many startups will actually get the boost because of your interventions, your leadership. So you have like you have been in Hyderabad. You are aware of that what an amazing startup ecosystem Hyderabad has, and they're all like looking for opportunities to deploy those innovations. So if you can act as a bridge between startups and the IT industry and the government, I think the miracles can happen for the citizens, and so many rural IT startups may happen because of you. What's your take? How do you see this?
I would say I'm amazed at the teamwork in the district actually. All they need is a spark for them to take off. And there's so much of enthusiasm and energy in rural areas also. When we were working with students, we had an interaction with IT professionals and the students, and the students mind just opened up to all the possibilities, and there is so much of bridging the gap which can happen. And post this lockdown, I think the way we look at things also will change. We will look at more self-sustained economies. So that is where the future is, and that's where and the heart of India is always in rural areas.
And in fact, as you are aware, Hari Chandra, that we at ELETS are working in more than 30 sectors, from water to transport to rural development to, of course, urban health, education, rural banking, and stuff like that. And we create those platforms where we get a lot of innovators. And we at ELETS would be more than happy to connect your district students to those leaders in the industry and help them in career counseling or connecting their student startup ideas to the right places, teachers like orientation with the HR, all through remote stuff like this. Like we can help that connect that bridge between the rural and the urban through the IT.
Sure, that will be an amazing thing to do, and all these people require is just an opportunity and a way to go ahead. And if we can do that, I think that's a lot of personal satisfaction too. So we will definitely work on it and take this forward.
Great. So with this, I thank all the audience who are on Zoom and on Facebook who are watching us from all over the country and many from outside India. I know that thousands of people are watching it and will watch it on Facebook. So I request each of you to kindly like and share this video. I think we need to spread the great work which is happening in this district of Narayanpet and spread these ideas and innovations so that many more districts and villages and even startups gets inspired to work in these remote areas. So with this, I thank Hari Chandanaji again and namaskar to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Raviji, and for all your viewers who have been watching this.
Thank you.